Hi everybody, my name's Edward and I recently passed my PPL skills test back on the 4th of January 2025, and what I wanted to do is make a video here just to show you how much I spent throughout my PPL journey. And this video is really aimed at those who are wanting to maybe pursue PPL and maybe unsure how much money they're going to be spending. So this is, I guess, aimed at those who are interested to know more about what sort of costs are involved when it comes to getting a PPL. I think I'll also give as well some brief tips on how to save some money along the way. So yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll break down here on my spreadsheet everything that I've recorded throughout my purchases that are related to my PPL, and we'll just briefly break it down. So I guess if we just start from the top, to give you some context, I started my training for my PPL back in August of 2023. So it's been taking over at least a year and a half to get this PPL. Starting with it, starting with trial lessons, most of your flying lessons are going to be spent on PPL lessons. To give you some context, these are the amount of times that I spent here, that I spent flying. Did my flight training out at Denham, so generally spent about £215 per hour. That was the going rate in a Cessna 152, which is what I did my training in. Over time, the prices did gradually increase, but not as much as, I think some people may be wondering, not as much as you think. I'd say because around June time in 2024, the price increased by £5, so it went from 215 to £220 an hour. And then in November 2024, it then went up again to £225 an hour. And then just recently in February of this year, the price went up another £5 to £230 an hour. So over time, the prices have gone up, but not like a very extreme amount. It's only been in increments of £5, which is which is something to be considered, something to think about. So obviously, the more time you spend, the more you may end up paying than you think. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. Things as well, flying lessons really. So PPL lessons are basically the flying hours that you spend with the instructors. Other things I've recorded here is the studying. So I used an online website called Easy PPL. Basically, it's all self-learning. You learn online. The content they deliver to you, it's all sort of PowerPoint style presentations, and you basically read the content. You've got 9 exams to do. At the time I bought this, I bought a trial initially, so I just bought their Air Law and AT Procedures section for £13.99, and they had like a monthly subscription, so that was how much it was for 1 month. Had a quick look. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll go with that, and yeah, decided to buy like a bundle. So basically, for this price, for £143, I ended up purchasing their Bronze Starter Kit, which was basically all of their content, and it lasted for about, I believe, the time it takes that is required to complete the exams, which I believe is 18 months. Yeah, so that was the sort of the studying side of it. For the exams, I say again, there was 9 in total. The prices that we did it was at the flight school was £35. Over time, it did increase by £5 at around the same time when the price for flying lessons increased as well. So it was £35, and then it went up again to £40 here, and then I think it may have gone up to £45, but I don't think it did actually, looking back at it. No, so during my training, as you can see, I did not do them all in one bunch. I sort of did like 1 exam a month. That's sort of my way of learning and how I found it. So yeah, that was the exams. For the equipment wise, I'll briefly just go over the equipment I spent. So equipment side, I did buy a headset. So the Lightspeed Zulu 3 headsets, I bought these used off eBay for the price there. As you can see, very expensive, but for me, I sort of treat it as like a sort of a long-term investment, because the headset that you pay, they're very comfortable, good value, I find. And yeah, I think, obviously you're going to buy these expensive headsets, then obviously try and buy a decent bunch. I think this was the price that I was happy to pay with, just because buying Bose A20s used or buying them second hand, I mean, it's they're considerably much more expensive, just under £1,000 I remember. Yeah, so I got the Lightspeed CV3s, still use them to this day. They've been great, so I can't really complain much about that. Other things you may want to consider for equipment wise, a CRP5 in this case, but if you're just doing your PPL, then you'll only need a CRP1. The only reason I bought a CRP5 is because I'm planning to go commercial. I want to get a commercial pilot's license and hopefully end up with the extra rating qualifications, and then once you get the 1,500 hours, get an ATPL. So for me, getting the CRP5 was just for future planning. Again, you can buy these second hand. Sometimes if you're lucky, like I was here, I managed to get it for about £35, which is quite good, because buying them brand new, I believe, costs about £80. So at the time there, that was quite a good deal I was happy with. Other thing as well, equipment wise, we've got a protractor and sticker compass. Protractor was mainly used for your navigation sections when you need to calculate your track headings, and obviously do your other calculations with your CRP5 to calculate the headings corrected for magnetic deviation and wind corrections. The sticker compass is just something you can put on your map, which is basically a nice way just to give you an idea of what heading to fly roughly if you need to fly that heading quickly for whatever reason. So that's something that I just thought was a little nice extra to have. And the other thing I bought as well, which is optional, but I think it's something I'd recommend. It's a diversion plotter. Basically, during your exams, you'll be tested on being able to divert to another airfield. So using that diversion plotter is, for me, it was quite a nice helpful thing that I found very helpful during my training. Other things as well, final thing during the equipment, I just put down here the equipment fee for the PPL and the flight radio telephony license fee as well. Again, at the current time of writing, applying for that, it's about £257, so that's just sending over your paperwork to the CAA, and then in the end you get your license. Really, that was sort of it that I wanted to cover. So, as you can see there, the total spent was about, as you can see there, £13,632.40. So, what I want to do then is just very quickly go over some tips on how to save some money. So, first tip I would say is don't purchase unnecessary things. Try buying things second hand. I think, as I said previously, I bought a few things second hand, such as my headsets and certain equipment like the CRP5. Buying things second hand can be cheaper. Well, buying things second hand tends to be cheaper, and obviously make sure that the equipment does work. That's the one thing. But when I also say don't purchase unnecessary things, for example, don't buy flight bags. Flight bags, I'd say, aren't really necessary. A rucksack or just a bag will do just enough, as you'd expect. Second tip I'd say is don't leave large time periods between your lessons. If you can, I think obviously that depends on what your commitments are, how much time you've got, and also the weather. If you're doing if you're doing your flying training here in the UK, then you know that the weather will be the biggest challenge that you'll face. And for me, it was the biggest obstacle that sort of delayed my training. Sometimes, I'd have weeks where I wouldn't be able to fly because I was only available on the weekends. So, those 2 days of the week, if it was just rain or just not flyable conditions, then, it happened a few times. So that's just something to bear in mind. And I think the last bit as well is, leading on to the second point, is just try and get the training done as soon as possible. The longer you take, the more you're going to spend. And again, going back to my previous point about how the flying hours, the hourly rate, increased from £215 to £225. Think about that. There may not be much of a change, but obviously the amount you're spending on your flight training, that will add up quite a bit. And same thing that happened to me with the ground exams as well. So I think at the end of the day, if you're able to get the training done for what you can do here for like under 15 grand, I'd say it's achievable. Could you do it for under 10 grand in today? Here in the UK, I'm going to say no. just because the hourly rate is already going to exceed your 10k budget. I think if you do manage to get your PPL under 10k, then let me know in the comments below, because I'd really be interested to know how you did it. But yeah, that was really all. So I wanted to show you here. Hope you found it helpful, and if you do have any questions, then leave a comment below, and I'll try and answer them. Thanks for watching. Hi everyone, it's Edward again here. Just wanted to give one final tip. Final tip is consider the location of where you want to do your flying. The reason I say this is Denham, for example. This is where I did my flight training. It's about 249 feet above mean sea level. One thing I noticed during the winter period was that because the airport was located on top of a hill, during the winter periods there was always a lot of low cloud, and that took quite a while for the cloud to sort of disappear throughout the day. But there were also times where the cloud just stayed there and it didn't go away. So there was obviously a lot of flight cancellations during that time. And one thing as well, just to give you some context, when I did my flight training here out of Denham, a lot of the training was done up here in this area. So there's a lot of free area here to do your flight training. And to get through here, you'd have to pass these hills. And one thing I noticed specifically during my skills test was that when we left in the morning, there was still a bit of cloud about, but as soon as we flew out and went past these hills into this open area, the weather improved significantly. I noticed, the clouds were higher, so obviously allowed me to carry on with my skills test. And when I came back and we saw the hills here, you could see I noticed that the clouds were lower. I could see a bit of mist forming on top of the hills around some areas, and that was just one of the observations I noticed. So maybe worth considering if you do want to do your PPL training. Just ask the local flight school and see, what potentially could the weather patterns be in that area. Because one thing I noticed when flying out of here is a lot of the poor weather was sort of held over here, but then the good weather was over here. That was from my observations. So yeah, just wanted to quickly share that with you. Just hopefully that may be of interest to you. See where you may find that at a local flight school. But yeah, thanks for watching.